What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing? On today's training, we're going to just kind of give like an A to Z, hey, what's the process look like? What could it look like? Just as a quick refresher so that I can kind of plug in some of my most recent iterations or tweaks and all that. Gonna try to do this kind of just as a habit every couple months, just so we can have some fresh, so we can always have kind of an up to date, like, what's the process look like. Um, Pulling up the slides now. Brian, what up?
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Doing
Britt,
good.
see you. Morgan, good to see you. Jenna, good to see you. Mike, good to see you. Excited to be in here. Um, Sorry, my slides are, my Google's being funny. There we go. There we go. All right, rock and roll. If you guys have questions throughout this, by the way, feel free to just drop them in the chat, and I'll and Maggie will kind of be on the lookout and pop in if it's something that we can get answered. And I want to make sure that we can have a place for it to be interactive, but I also want to make sure we're getting through this. So building a compounding pipeline. The big thing that I want to make sure that we all are thinking about is, how can we look at leads? How can we look at our time, our energy, our effort as investments into our business, into our future, all that stuff? And I'm not just saying that in like a, this is how to work. And I'm not like saying this isn't like some mindset thing. It's really around, you already are generating leads. You already are doing things to create these opportunities within your business. I think it can and should be our responsibility, once we know some of the ways that we can multiply that, to always be doing that. Because at the end of the day, the best thing we can do, the best vehicle of growth that our businesses, or the effort that we put in the business that we're working in, can really like stack, is if we're able to use previous efforts to generate new results. And so compounding interest is interest on previous interest. We want to have results on previous results. In this training, we're going to talk about three main outcomes. First one is know how to increase some of your inbound leads. So what are the things that we can do to establish a baseline of leads coming in? And I'm not going to talk about all the ads and stuff quite yet. It's really going to be more around like personal brand, just things we can all be doing that is going to be approachable for whatever budget you're at. Second is going to go through an example of selling more jobs where you're working. And three is we're going to look at how we can kind of think through our referral process. So a lot of you guys have seen this. A lot of you guys have seen this kind of back to back and in different pieces. And maybe you've seen this like chunked together. But what I want to do is go through all this so you can see how it fits. Because I think one of the struggles that a lot of the time we have, because we're going in depth on the different functions to make sure that we can do them right, that they work well, is it's hard to zoom back out and see how it all plays in together. So each one of these needs to be seeded in our efforts pretty much the whole time. So the goal is to really just build a pipeline of that's constantly growing with people that legitimately want to work with you. So the difference between these leads that we're going to be generating through the neighborhood marketing and referral stuff, and even just building our personal brand, is these are not going to just be people who are comparing you against every other roofer in the country generally. Now, there might be like a few that do, no matter how they come in. But the goal is to be in a situation where you're the most logical option for them. where you're the roofer that they know if they follow you on social media, and we're talking about like building our personal brand, or you are the one roofer that they interacted with in a specific way if they're neighbors, where they already got to experience a little bit of what it's like to work with you or how you work before they even had to enter into a sales conversation, or they look at you as a referred roofer that one of your happy clients talked about their experience with you and shared it for everyone, and they say, well, you were referred to me by this person. We want your pipeline to be as full of that, and we want your salespeople's pipeline to be as full of those types of leads as possible too, because that type of lead ends up creating a cycle where every time you get more and more people like that in your pipeline, every time your salespeople are interacting more and more, they're getting more confident, they're getting better at having these conversations, they're closing more, and they're generating more people like that. So it's a situation where the quality of lead that's in your pipeline ideally should be getting better and better and better the more you follow these processes. And I always like this quote. You've probably heard, I put it in slides and stuff all the time, but success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. If you're here, I hope you know already there are no shortcuts. There are no silver bullets. There's no big grand slam that will solve all of your problems. It really is a matter of making sure that we understand the small efforts that are worth repeating to get the outcomes that we want. And we also need to make sure the efforts are something that go together. So in this quote, it says sum of small efforts, not just a random batch of small efforts, but the efforts added together. So it's not just small efforts repeated day in and day out. It is the sum of the right small efforts repeated day in and day out. So that's what we want to always get clear on. What are our inputs that are going to give us the control and the growth that we want? And if you're in a situation where you are generating the leads and you're watching this and you've been doing this for a few months or whatever, and you're more focused on generating the appointments or running appointments or running the inspections, I need you to make sure you do not forget there are things you need to do at every inspection. There are things you need to do at every build, at every adjuster meeting, after every job wraps up, that will allow you to get out of that zone where you're obsessed and really, really focusing on like just where the next lead is going to come from. And we need to make sure that we're always looking at the effort and what we're doing as an investment in that regard, so that we're not just stuck chasing leads forever. So this slide is a basics on you're not going to get it right the first time. If you quit trying to ride a bike the first time you fell, then you would have missed out on the chance to hang out with friends and to have a little bit of that fun and have some of those good memories. And it would be crazy if someone tried to ride a bike one time, failed, or fell, and then decided that they couldn't ride a bike or that bikes didn't work. This stuff does work. We just need to do it right. So they take practice. It's an easy learning curve. It's not super steep, but it just takes practice. So step one, we want to look at getting the invite. And getting the invite is a really important concept. Getting the invite is an important concept, mostly because we need to be very, very focused on whatever our lead gen strategy is, even if we are knocking doors to get the leads. We need to make sure that we are doing so in a way to where we are trying to establish a presence in the area that we're working where we belong there. So we want to make people feel like you're invited into their area to help them, not we are just there trying to get your business. We never want to be the uninvited guest. And we don't want to have this stereotype. The Matilda, that whole like used car salesman, this is how door-to-door salespeople are seen. And we don't want to be just that. So while there's things and strategies around going door to door that we're going to talk through, we don't want you to be in a situation where you're stuck like being seen like that. We want to always make sure when we go to door that we're doing so as invited guests into the area. So I'm going to skip through a few slides. So getting invited. We want to get invited into the neighborhood. We want to get invited to inspect their roof, and we want to be a pleasant presence in the neighborhood. So I always talk, be referral worthy. That's one of the main goals. One of the ways to stay referral worthy is to not just force someone into a sales situation or sales conversation that didn't want to be it. So when they interact with you, you want them to think, oh, that was nice. They informed me of that, not, oh, there's another roofer trying to get my business. So the whole flow is we want to create opportunities to get invited into the neighborhood. This is going to be as an individual. We want to have a brand. We want to post on social media. We want to make sure that we're like known as the roofing person. But also as a company, at different levels of your company and different sizes, this looks different. So you might be doing $1 million, and okay, we could maybe throw some money at Google and maybe just put some money on Facebook and then let the brand do a lot of the work. Like personal brand, just like be the roofing guy, network in Facebook groups, do all that stuff. At 10 or 15 million, you probably want to do Google ads and call centers, and pretty much like there's all kinds of options for this. And at 3 million, maybe it's a different Google ad budget or it's a different mix of things. But the point is, it's going to look different at different levels. If you're an individual sales rep and you don't get to dictate that your company is spending X amount on ads, then you need to lean heavier into the things you can control, which would just be building the brand. Second, when we're in the areas, we want to create opportunities to get invited to inspect the neighbor's roof. Then once we finish the job and close the deal, we want to create opportunities for your clients to invite you, or for their networks to invite their roof with the referral processes, and then repeat. So it becomes a cycle where every job is turning into its next, turning into the next, turning into the next. And if we can do that to where the referrals and other lead sources are getting us invited into new neighborhoods over and over again, then we have really organized processes every time we're at an inspection to get in front of the neighbors and to get them to invite you to inspect their roof. And then from every job you close, we have a process to get you in front of their network on social media. And that generates some opportunities or interest, especially when we get them to put it in the right place. Then you have a situation where we have accomplished that compounding growth, where we're getting results on previous results over and over and over again. And it really does grow fast once you have that. So when we're trying to get invited, that's usually going to come from your own ability to generate leads. So that could be social media, which is can be like personal branding, can be just networking and messing around in Facebook groups. How social you are. If you're a sales rep, especially, like everyone that you talk to should know that you do roofing. Like you should find a way to plug that in. Like the more you can interact with people and let them know about what you do, the more at bats you're going to have. And then company generated leads. So that's going to be Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, whatever it is that's the main driver of the company generating leads for you. When we're trying to create opportunities for the neighbors to invite you to inspect their roof, this is going to come from what you hopefully know at this point as the 4 growth engines. This is going to be direct mail around appointments and builds, some specific canvassing strategies around appointments and builds, and maybe at adjuster meetings, some communication techniques and loops and frameworks that we're going to try to create when we're interacting with the homeowners and how we're interacting with the neighbors. And then social media and using that to document what you're doing every day and kind of building the brand and making sure that we're showing what we did to the right people that it's relevant to. The neighborhood marketing efforts are really designed to just create a bunch of nudges and opportunities for a conversation that leads them to inspecting and to requesting an inspection. This slide is important because all the marketing, while the marketing material can be more direct, I think I say that later, but We're not trying to just get the inspection, sell the inspection, sell the inspection. We need our intent to truly be a demonstration of what it's like to work with us. And the main things we can demonstrate is thoroughness, proactive problem solving, and basically just good communication. And that's what we want to be able to show the neighbors in a variety of ways. And then we also want to trust that they are not idiots. Sometimes homeowners can be idiots, but in general, they know if their neighbor's getting a new roof, then that might be a sign that they need to look at their roof. They might, if you go proactively try to tell them they need a new roof, they might act like there's no way. But let them have the space to come to that conclusion yourself, and let you be the only person that makes sense to reach out to when that happens. So we need to give them space to do that. We can't just assume that they're going to, we can't just jump right into the sales conversation, because that's missing a huge opportunity, which is the next interaction that you could have and the next. Because the moment you try to sell them and they say no, then they're not going to want to work with you. So on the actual sales conversation, when we're like invited into the roof inspection process and checking out their roof, then yeah, sell. But before they've like explicitly asked you to do an inspection, be very, very soft about offering to do one, because they know that means the sales conversation. So basically just say, if that's ever something that you need, we're available to you. Don't say you need a roof inspection or let me inspect your roof. So the point is, it's not asking for the business over and over. And like I said earlier, yeah, the marketing material, like on the door hangers and direct mail and all that, we can be more direct with like the calls to action. But as a person, as the individual that's interacting with them, be very, very careful about how you're structuring the conversation. Next is creating opportunities for your clients' networks to invite you to inspect their roof. So this is going to come down to how you present and ask for referrals. We want to make sure that, one, we do have a formalized referral program. We want them to see that this is something that other people have done. So the reason it's formalized is partially just so they feel as though this is a process that other people have followed, not them having to figure it out themselves. This will get easier and easier the more people who flow through this, because you will be able to show people, hey, this is what this person posted, this is what this person posted. But it does have a little bit, there takes more thrust to get it off the ground, we'll put it that way. It's going to be a little more effort to get the first batch coming in, but once you do, it's going to work pretty well. So one, formalize it so you can show them the steps, you can show them exactly what it's supposed to look at. Two, when you ask for the referral, you want to have a humble demeanor. I know that sounds funny, but like, it's such a huge difference when you basically say, hey, it would mean the world to me if you were to post about your experience on social media. Like, it's really important part of how we grow our company and how we do business is we want to do a good enough job for you that you're happy to talk about us to others, because referrals are our lifeblood, and we want to invest as much as we can, not into Google and not into Facebook, but really as much as we can back into our client experience and making sure that we take care of our clients the best way possible. So that's like the humble demeanor part. Organized and intentional way of asking is we need to have a very specific time that we ask for it. Referral programs in the roofing industry are almost always very casual. And while we want to like maintain that casual like interaction, the actual ask and the way we ask needs to be scripted and intentional and step by step if we want to maximize how effective and how well people will actually take to it. And then we need to incentivize action on their behalf. So one, it's best to get it right when you're with them, when you're there. We need to get the timing right. We need to get them to move as fast as possible. Two, we need to make sure that when they move and that it's like a lot of clear how-tos on what they can do and what they should do to make sure it works as fast and as easy as possible. And three, we need to make sure that they are incentivized to take action, not incentivized to get you referrals. I know that sounds funny, but if they have to find someone that needs a new roof and that's the only way that they get the money, then they're pretty far away from the money or whatever their carrot is that we're giving them. If incentivizing them is more incentivizing them just to take one tiny little step, making a post about you in a neighborhood Facebook group, that's a very different conversation. So incentivize the action on their behalf. This is going to be a really helpful way for you to think through how to make sure that we're getting the lift from the referrals as we can. Is like, put yourself in their shoes and imagine if I asked you, hey, could you make a post about working with me on Facebook? Even if you loved working with me, it still might be something that takes up a lot of real estate in your head. If instead I said, hey, can you post this, just insert your one little like 2 or 3 sentences here, and post it in this Facebook group, that would be a little bit less like stressful. And if, as long as I did a good job and as long as you liked working with me, you'd probably be pretty down to do that. So we just need to make sure that we are trying to reduce the friction and reduce like the critical thinking they have to do to actually do these referral generating activities on your behalf. So we want to, one, recap, get invited into the areas. Two, we want to make sure that we are getting invited to inspect the neighbors' roofs around the areas that we got invited to. And then three, we want to make sure that we're getting referrals from everyone we work with. And then repeat. And that's a pretty great cycle that is always going to be growing your business for as long as you are doing the actions and activities that are required to make it work. So let's talk through the main 3 pieces of it. Step 1 is leads. This is the thing that everyone gets a little bit obsessive about, which is fine. But rather than just turning and focusing on how can I get more leads, I want to look at what are the inputs that I can take, what are the actual actions that I can take to get leads. I know that sounds like maybe it's the same side of a different coin, but it's an entirely different mindset. We need to make sure that we are trying to be proactive about getting more and more and more opportunities at all times. We have to be in that client acquisition mindset. So, and we also need something to compound. If we all are familiar with the stock market a little bit, we know like cost averaging and investing like a little bit amount into a 401k or the S&P 500. And the goal is for that to always be increasing and that principal that you invested to always be increasing, but also the actual compounding results where you can get now interest on previous interest. So you can get a high, like say you put in $1 and then and then you got a 10% return, which is obviously crazy. And then that became $1.10. And then you got a 10% return on $1.10 rather than just $1. So we're increasing what like we could look at as what becomes the principal amount. That's what we always want to be doing. And we need to be obsessed with creating, one, multiplying in the compounding vehicle, but two, giving as much principal as we can into it so that it's all growing and operating properly. So what's your baseline? It's really the number of appointments and jobs that you generate outside of the neighborhood marketing and referral strategies. So this is like the normal amount of jobs you're doing post Brad. And if we need to increase it, there's different things that we can do, but that will be like your personal network. That might be door knocking. That might be company provided or company generated leads. That might come from you just already being active and people kind of knowing you in some of the Facebook groups. This is all the ways that you get leads that are not intentionally within the neighborhood marketing and referral stuff that we are actually working on. So there might be referrals thrown in there, but that doesn't mean that these are referrals that were like very intentionally created with this process that we're setting up. So this is like very much a within our strategy, within our like kind of world verbiage here. What's your baseline? It's these jobs outside of the compounding stuff that Brad teaches. To increase it, we can, one, just use social media, be the roofing guy, be the roofing girl. Two, we want to make sure our friends and family know that we want referrals and we are always on lookout. Three, we can build B2B relationships without even leaving our house if we want to. Four, we can send a set of time of every day kind of searching neighborhood Facebook groups and having for people asking about roofing. These are just some basics, things that we can do as individuals that are just time based, not that are money based. So becoming the roofing guy, we want to look at what we call process driven social media. So if you ever are wondering what to post, it's not just a matter of posting, hey, this is the best way to prepare your roof. And like, we don't always have to create content at all. We can kind of just document what we're doing. So while we're prospecting, if we don't have inspections, if we do have inspections, post and do a little video or whatever on what we're seeing. At builds, post and do a video or a picture on what we're doing. If you're getting a review, screenshot it and post it on social media. If we're finished a job, do an appreciation post or before and after. These are all things that we can be doing that are either just triggered by things that we do every day or triggered by specific events. So, okay, we got a review, let's post it on social media. That can and should be a norm. There's no reason not to do that. We finished the job, let's do a before and after. So this is all on social media. And important to note, the algorithm rewards volume. That's because the people who look at it are going to be the people that are like actually interested. You could post 10 times a day, and the people that don't want to see your posts are really only going to see maybe like one post a day max, maybe not any. The people that like seeing you win and like engaging with it and comment on every one, those are the people that are going to continue to get your posts. So there's no such thing as too much, truly. If you have the ability to post 3 or 4 before and afters in a morning because you finished 3 or 4 jobs the day before, do it. You can post them back to back. It doesn't matter. This is going to only show up to the right people. While you're generally like, I want you to post about what you do. One of the easiest ways, like if you want to post like an idea or a new way of thinking about whether you need your roof replaced or whatever, like you are welcome to create. But don't let the fact that you have writer's block and can't think of anything unique or creative to post stop you, because as long as you're doing stuff, you have things to post about. You don't have to be like, think hard about what it is though. Just post. Hey, out, just let people know what you're doing. Hey, out checking this roof. Hey, saw this hail damage in this area. Like, if you need any help, let us know. That's the type of stuff we can and should be doing on a normal basis. That should be our personal profiles, probably should be where we're doing a whole lot of like random day-to-day volume, and then we can tag our business page in it and then save the business page for more before and afters and reviews and some of the stuff that's a little more easy to repurpose. But if we want to just have a random post as a personal profile, tag your business page. This can be sales reps, this can be owners, it doesn't matter. So while prospecting, you might not have appointments or jobs every day, but that doesn't mean you don't have things to post about. So go live, take videos to post about what you're specifically looking for. At inspections, you can take 5 to 10-second videos and put them on your stories. You can just take a picture of damage you see and put it on your story. You can go live on Facebook and do a little walkthrough of what you're looking for. You can take a picture of bad work other contractors did and make posts saying this is why you need to hire a professional, ideally without calling anyone out, because that's not usually good practice. And take before pictures of any roof that you sign in anticipation that you're going to do a before and after. At builds, same kind of thing. Take 5 to 10-second videos directly on your stories of the project being built. Take pictures of the roof when it's fully stripped off. That's usually like nice and eye-catching. Go live or do a video basically emceeing the project. So like, hey, get on the roof, share what you're looking at, share things that are special, introduce them to your crew, introduce them to the crew leader. your project manager, whoever, and then make sure that you're always getting that after picture. On reviews, post the reviews and just say, hey, so grateful. Be friends with your clients. That's usually best. And if you're a salesperson, ask them to mention you on the review. So this is better. This serves the company because you got a review, and then you can continue building your actual brand and see what it's like to actually work with you under the company rather than just the company, because that will be good if they come directly to you. Appreciation posts, similar to the review posts, great idea to just tell your clients how much you appreciate them. And you can always like make sure that you're just kind of showing people that you're not just like in it for the money, that you really love the transformation and you really like value the trust people give you. Before and afters are going to be kind of like appreciation posts. The one thing I will say is the algorithm wants you to post a ton. An individual might be like, okay, I get it. Boss Roofing tagged me 3 separate times in a review post, a before and after post, and an appreciation post. That will annoy the individual. So don't do that. Make sure that you're kind of organized on like, if you're going to do a before and after for someone, you don't necessarily need to do an appreciation post, or you should at least spread it out. Next, using friends or family. This is more for the sales reps, but if you're an owner and you don't do this, then you definitely should. Build your social media audience, post about what you do, and that you would be incredibly appreciative if people on your friends list kept you in mind when a friend or family member needs their help. Reach out to the family and friends in your market and ask them to heart, comment, and share posts so more people see it, and ask your friends and family directly to always be on the lookout for people who need a new roof, and mention that you'd be very appreciative if they shared and engaged with your posts when they saw them. So this third step, people do not know what they don't know. So on that, like, make sure you're legitimately asking them, hey, you might already know this, but I just want you to know, like, anytime you see a post, that would be helpful. And like, heart it, love it. If anytime you see someone that needs a new roof, just tag me in it. I'll handle it if we don't serve that area, or if it's like outside of our scope of work or whatever. The difference between two, which is reach out to friends and family, is like, this is an individual post. If it's like a heavy hitting one that you want to make, and you might see a training in the curriculum called Social Media Mafia. This would be like if you have a group text that you could like, hey, can y'all like this? That would be more that. And then ask your friends and family directly. That's more just like a specific one-time ask and having them be on the lookout.
So real quick, Brad, I was going to add, just to show y'all that Brad does this stuff too. When Brad was selling shingles, he used to have us keep an eye out for any roofing company that would come by, and we would text him the names of roofing companies when we saw their trucks and things like that, and he would reach out to them. So Brad does this stuff too.
Yeah, I practice what I preach, and that was years ago before. So and that's the kind of stuff that like we need to make sure that we're like being aware of, because this stuff, it really does add up. And the more you can get this stuff organized, the more you can get this stuff really like working for you, this compounds as well. One person seeing you over and over and over again, and then really embedding in their brain that you are the roofing person, is going to make it more and more like roofing all of a sudden will become something that is slightly more relevant to them when they see someone talking about roofing, because they know this guy, they know this girl, and we need to create that. The biggest problem that I think a lot of us have is we think and expect that things will just happen. We expect things just to fall into place. At the end of the day, everything, we need to be like freaking sociopaths with it. I know that's funny, but like, we need to be so clear on the inputs and the different things that could happen, and try to like organize the controls as best as possible, because that's how we can ensure the outcome rather than just hope for the outcome, or at least hedge in our favor of it happening. We don't want luck to be the reason that we're getting jobs. We don't want luck, or we're just a good person. It's really hard to explain. Like, we want it to be because of an intentional set of things that we did and actions that we did, or circumstances that we created very purposefully. All right, neighborhood marketing. Now, and I'm kind of just running through this because I want to make sure we're getting through all this. So excuse the speed, but I want to make sure that we're going through all these slides. And this sometimes is like a 90-minute presentation, and I don't want it to be that. I want to finish in 24 minutes. So compounding begin. So we talked about getting more jobs in the areas that we talked about getting more jobs, like just increasing our baseline, what are the simple things we can do that everyone can do no matter who we are. And if you have a big company, by the way, like I know we got a heavy hitter here with Boss, you guys, each individual, this is like individual tasks rather than like owner tasks. So if you have 5 or 6 salespeople and every one of them are the roofing guy or roofing girl among their friends and network, every one of them are posting a bunch as the company or like representing the company, not necessarily on the company page. And every one of them is always on the lookout and has people always on the lookout to tag them in posts on roofing. You have a whole army of people that are always really trying to get the same outcome that you want, which is to grow and get more opportunities to put on roofs. So it really, really is valuable. This stuff just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more you do it. And always look at this as like, what can I empower the individuals on my team to do? And how can I make sure that they know what to do, but also that they see the what's in it for me factor? We all know this one, and if you're here, you really know it, but where's the most opportunity? In this picture, the most opportunity is the neighbors. We need to make sure we have a very intentional, and to go back, like say you close this deal or say that this was just like a really good inspection. So that's where the opportunity is. But the question is, do we have a very, very, very clear intentional set of inputs that go from this to where we're able to get in front of these people and sign these different people up? That's what we're working on. So some of you guys are further along, and the answer is yes, we do now. Some of you are further along, but you've kind of like forgotten to do certain things. So do them. And if you're newer, this is what we're creating. We need to make this ingrained, though. We need to make sure this is the stuff that we do every single inspection, every single build. So I'm going to go through kind of a high-level example of how it looks. So we want to develop a process to follow for every inspection, for every adjuster meeting, for closing meetings, if we have a separate meeting for that, for build day, for post-build inspections. We want to make sure that we understand the emotions, we understand what people need and are looking for at each, and that's the homeowner that we're working with, but also the neighbors, and to where we're trying to solve problems and show them kind of who we are. The know, like, and trust factor is required for people to do business with you unless you're just purely money based. Usually they're not going to sign on, oh man, I really, really hated working with Maggie, the roofing salesperson, but I'm going to use her anyways. The only reason they would do that is if you price yourself too low. It doesn't mean that you have to go be best friends with them, but for the most part, they need to know, like, and trust you. And so we want to establish as much of that know, like, and trust factor in these actions and activities as possible to the neighbors. The tools for growth engines, we already covered that. So at the inspection, the moment we have an inspection, we want to do something like this, sending a postcard that basically just announces your presence in the area. We want to send that to the nearest neighbors, and that probably will arrive after the inspection, but we just want to begin making sure that we have kind of a uniform approach of the type of material and type of messaging that the neighbors are going to be getting. So at the inspection, we send this mail. On the way, we send a message somewhat like this. Hey, John, this is Brad with Brad's Roofing. We have our appointment window coming up between 1 and 2. I just wanted to let you know I'm on the way. By the way, while we have the ladder out, if there are any of your neighbors that would want us to inspect the roof as well, or as well as, there's no fee. If you have a group message or anything, feel free to send my contact info. I'll double check when I see you in case anyone responds that they wanted me to stop by. Alternatively, if you guys use drones, hey, let the neighbors know we're going to be flying a drone. It's going to be buzzing around. I don't want them to be wondering what's going on or make them think they're being spied on. Whatever the wording is, we just want to make sure that, like, we're figuring out, hey, figure out a way to get the neighbor to the homeowner to let their neighbors know that you're in the area. Ideally, we can turn one inspection into a couple inspections by doing just something this simple. Doesn't always work, but you'll be surprised how many people will happily do this. Like a lot of the time, people legitimately respond, "Oh yeah, I'd be happy to," and we'll send the message. Sometimes they're weird about it, but don't assume that they're gonna like think this is a referral. We want to make sure that we are clear. Hey, we're trying to get them to opt in for a free service, or we're trying to get them to warn their neighbors that there's going to be a drone in the air, not get their neighbors to buy from us. This is probably the most direct thing, this version of it, but it does work. And it also kind of like, there's going to be certain people who are already like almost always like down to give referrals and are excited about the opportunity to be like Mr. or Mrs. I know a guy. And so this feeds into those people. But a text message like this, or just letting them know, hey, I'm going to be on the way and I'm interested in the neighbors knowing I'm there too, for whatever reason. Second, ideally matching the postcard and maybe even the messaging in the text message. We want to show up 10 minutes early and put door hangers out on the nearest neighbors. So this is going to be, we're in your neighborhood, we're inspecting your neighbor's roof, drone in the air. If we're doing that messaging, we just need to be clear on what it's going to be, and it needs to be pretty much the same over and over again. And then always make sure we actually use this white space and say something. If you can make it really relevant, hey, we're inspecting Mr. and Mrs. Jones' roof down the road. Hey, we're inspecting the Joneses' roof and going to be using a drone. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Some verbiage like that is going to go a long way. We want to put that. We don't want to knock these doors yet. We just want to put these around the home before we do the inspection. Then we go do the inspection and go about our normal business. While we're actually at the inspection with the homeowner, we want to have what we call insurance on the text that we sent. So anytime we have asked someone to do something via text or email, we want to also like back that, like if we have a chance to in person, then we want to like remind them that that's something we want. So, hey, what's up? Tell me about the roof, blah, blah, blah. By the way, just wanted to double check if you spoke to any of your neighbors who wanted me to stop by. I'm going to get you fully taken care of, but just want to make sure I'm budgeting enough time in case any of the neighbors want an inspection. So that's basically just saying, hey, did you do anything? Did you do what I asked you to do? If they said, yep, will do, just ask if they even responded. If they didn't respond, then say, hey, by the way, just wanted to double check that you asked. This is the kind of thing that we want to make sure. This is the kind of thing that we want to just make sure that we're like getting pretty clear on. This all needs to be like a string though. At the inspection, see ya. At the inspection, ideally, Ring cameras luckily make people pretty quick to see that someone was at their front door. Hopefully, at least one or two people will have grabbed the door hanger already by the time you're done with this homeowner. I generally suggest like a one call close type of process if you can. It doesn't mean you need to like make that required or else they just go into the abyss. But if you can get them to make a decision on the spot, or if you can get them to file a claim with you right there, connect them with the insurance company, you should. So don't try to rush your inspections. Give it time. Make sure you're taking care of them, because we are trying to create a situation where we're not in as much of a hurry to drive all the way across town, but instead we have time for these people. This is going to be a transition though. So if you're already like around town, don't worry. It just will kind of naturally fall into these grooves as we go. But look, a couple people grab the door hanger, this person, this person, this person, this image. We need to go talk to them and try to have that conversation and say we signed this person. And like we want to try to go have those inspections with them and like just, hey, saw you grab the door hanger, just wanted to introduce myself before I headed out. If there's ever anything you need, let me know. I do think we're gonna probably end up working with Sarah or with the Joneses over here, and Just wanted to make sure you could put a face to the name. Something along those lines. Simple. Say you did close the deal. At that point, we want to trigger 2 different pieces of mail in this case. Hey, we wanted to send a quick letter thanking you in advance for your patience during the upcoming project. We will be doing for your neighbor. If there's anything you need at all, my cell is blah, blah, blah. Talk soon. And then other, that's don't mind the noise. These both are going to be automated, and we'll send these to the same people who ideally got the first mail and got the door hangers and all that. Hopefully they both get those. That should, important note also, the direct mail is like not a conversion piece. Very rarely are you going to get like direct leads from that. It's more just a piece of the puzzle and something to talk about. So you can kind of mention like, hey, I spoke with Susie and we did the and like I saw that I got a couple postcards from you, or hey, you might have gotten a letter from me or whatever. And like, oh yeah, I think I saw something like that. They're mostly like just conversation pieces and like a way for them to know that like you're kind of thinking of them. Night before, hey, hey Sarah, excited to start the job tomorrow. As we discussed, it can be a big process and our crew will arrive in a few different vehicles. We do our best to keep things clean and contained, but every once in a while something might blow out of your yard without the guys noticing. Can you go ahead and provide my contact info with the neighbors just in case they need us to move our car or if anything blows into their yard? So this text message, very good. We want something like this the day before, getting them to tell their neighbors that the job's happening. And ideally, if they can pass your information to the neighbors, makes it really easy for the neighbors just to shoot you a quick text and say, hey, can you inspect my roof too? And also it's encouraging them to be a good neighbor, and it also is going to match the messaging that we're trying to create in the other, like leading up, is like we want to kind of not necessarily exaggerate, but create a lot of attention on the fact that you're going to be doing the project and make it like a bigger thing in their life than they think that it's going to, than they would have, that it would have been otherwise. Not in like a bad way, just in a make them very aware of the project that's going to happen so that they're like thinking about it more. On build day, we're going to show up first. We want to have someone show up as early as possible. Especially if you have the material delivered the day of, if you can have someone that's like there around 7 a.m. and can maybe catch the delivery truck. There's a lot of people that are usually going to come out and like their kid's going to check or whatever and like show them what it is. So like it's a loud process. That's probably one of the more like inconvenient times of the whole project. So it's good to have someone on your team there who can like interact with the people whose attention it might be getting. But put these door hangers out and then write a note, something like this. You can even write the note the day before if you want, if that helps. But put the door hangers out on the same homes. Really, anyone who can see the project from their front yard, and make sure that we're just having these conversations as best as possible throughout the day. So throughout the day, we want to see who's grabbing these and we want to go talk to them. When we actually meet the homeowner, we want to basically just remind them that you asked them to give your info to the neighbors. And so that's the insurance. Hey, a bit crazy. Don't worry. We'll make sure it goes smooth. By the way, did you send my info to the neighbors in case you need us to move a car or if something blows in their yard? So that kind of is another like, oh shoot, I forgot, or yes, I did send it to them. And that way you just kind of know. If they're like, oh, I don't really know any of my neighbors, be like, okay, that's fine. Like never push or get weird about them not doing something, but we ideally want them to. Throughout the day, right, there's going to be people who grab the door hanger or who are just outside. Go have conversations with them, let them know, hey, just wanted to like say hi. If you need anything while we're out here, or if we need to move a car, or if like anything blows in your yard, reach out to me directly. Like we want to make sure this is smooth for you. I know it kind of is a little bit crazy when your neighbor's getting the roof replaced. So just make sure they see that you care and are thinking about them. So that wraps up the actual build. Now we want to generally, and if you don't have this, I'm going to ask you why, and I want you to come up with like a good case as to why you can't. because this is a really, really powerful spot. Post-job inspection. Have that ideally as a separate actual, like as a separate conversation, to where the, like, we want to isolate it from the actual build, because by the end of the build, they're going to be super tired of people being in their house all day and people being around their house all day. It is not generally a good time to get them to do anything. They kind of just want it to be wrapped up. So scheduling a second meeting to where it's like, hey, this is kind of the final step. We just want to like do a walkthrough, review the warranty information, and just like make sure you're all good to go. So have that as like an actual step in meeting, ideally, because one, it can be an opportunity to get you in front of other people, but two, it's really the best chance to ask for the referral. So the way we like to do it is have a customer satisfaction survey, and I'll help each of you make one if you need. And it's basically generic questions like, hey, did we give you, were we good at communicating when the material was going to be delivered? Did we give you a good color selection? Do you understand your warranties? Do you understand the scope of our workmanship warranty? Like, basically just try to stack a bunch of yeses that are like, should be easy yeses, that are like, if they say no, is like a very good information. And then make the final question this hypothetical. And remember, it is hypothetical. We're not asking for the referral. We're asking if they would refer us hypothetically. Hey, if a neighbor, friend, or family member needed to replace their roof, did we provide the level of service that would make you want to refer us? Ideally, the answer is yes, and then we can move into however we're going to structure the referral program. So generally, we like to gate it with what we call referral generating activities. All right, all you have to do is post about us on social media and tag us, and then we're going to let the office know to start tracking your referral rewards. Hey, can you post, if you post about us in Nextdoor, we'll do this. If you record a video testimonial that we can use in our marketing, then you can officially be a referral partner. Whatever it is, make it like a requirement to become a referral partner. And the way we want to organize that, like, ask is really, how can we have them, like, how can we make it really clear? Now, there's full other trainings on like this specific stuff. And so each of you, like, I'll dive in more deep with you. But the basics are, we need to really organize this conversation, because it is super clunky if you go in unprepared. It is not as, like, from here, conceptually, it's like, okay, this makes sense. In practice, you're so rarely going to get them to post on social media and tag you, or post about you on Nextdoor, if you don't have like this whole process like kind of organized on how it's really going to go in your head. Now, if you're one of my clients, then you're going to have it organized, and we're going to but we just need to follow it, and you need to know and have that prepared, as this isn't something that just is like some flowy conversation. This is something where we have to really, really control and have a very clear idea of how people are going to navigate this conversation with you, because they're nervous that they don't know what to post. They don't know they don't know what Nextdoor is, maybe. Like, maybe they don't have a social media. Like, we need to be prepared for all those things and kind of have a what to do when. And we also need to make sure we ask in a way that gets them to do it right then and there, because if they don't do it then and there, the chances that they do it at all are really, really low. So this is an incredibly important step, but also probably one of the biggest unlocks for you in regards to like getting a really, really great and well-known brand in these areas that you're working, and also getting a bunch of referrals. I like having two different ways of them compensating. $25 for a qualified appointment, because I think it's just like nice immediate gratification and makes it closer to the money. And then $200 to $500 for a closed deal. The higher you're willing, like, we want to make sure that we're always like reducing your cost per acquisition. That's a really, really important piece of it. But We also want to remember that we have a lot of different vehicles that are reducing our cost per acquisition. And if these leads are kind of tee ups, then it probably is worth paying a lot for. I'm not saying you need to do 500, but if you can and are willing to do 500, that will be a lot more exciting because they'll always do the math. And $1,000 is like a number that's going to stand out. So I could make $1,000 by just referring 2 people that work with you. Or if I make this post and they just close 2 people from the post, then I'll make $1,000. That's better than if they close 5 people, then I have to close 200 because they know what the process that goes into signing on and doing the project and all that. So it feels big to them. So the more likely we can make it feel for them to get a lot out of it, the better. So make sure we're thinking about that as we're looking at the numbers. Gate option 1, in order to be a referral partner, join our group. Gate option 2 is you can ethical bribe. So pay them for the referral generating activities. Honestly, I think this is one of the most effective. As long as you know that they said, yes, I would refer you. This isn't like anything bad, but say, hey, okay, cool. If you post about us in a Facebook group, we'll give you $25. Something like that. That would like make sure that like, and you can have the $25 like ready to give them, or like the office will send you a virtual Amazon gift card or something. So just try to make sure that we're doing something like that. Social media, post before and after, post something like this. Hey, we just had the pleasure of replacing the Joneses roof in Maple Grove. So last name, personable, Maple Grove area. I promise you, this will do better for, like, this will give you more than it will take. So if you feel like someone's spying on your Facebook trying to steal all your jobs or get in your areas, don't worry, just do this. And then always just like give them as much like gratitude as you can. Boost the post, a mile radius around the actual address for $3 to $5 a day. Super simple. There's just a button on every post that you post on your business page that says boost. Press it and then put in the address as the targeting. And there's a little training in the portal on like the specific way to set it up. But boost it 5 days and just make sure the right people are seeing that before and after. So this is the social media part of the 4 growth engines. And then one more mail, basically closing the loop, check out your neighbor's roof, and then we'll wrap it up with that. And that is creating opportunities to get invited into the neighborhoods, create more opportunities to get invited to get the inspections, create opportunities for clients' networks to invite you, and repeat. And this is my favorite, just simple formula that you can look at. If you get 3 additional inspections as a result of every build you do on average, and you close a third of those warm leads, you literally just doubled your pipeline. So this works, this grows, this scales, and it doesn't even stop here. This keeps on stacking and keeps compounding. So it's a matter of the inputs though. So it's a matter of what is being done in the field, what's the conversations are like, and getting really, really, really good at these inputs. So that is what we work on with you. That's how we organize it. We try to help you get set up to where you're doing it over and over and over again. So if this was a refresher for you, try to think, what are things that I'm not doing that I should be doing at every inspection build? How am I asking for the referral process? If this is more new information, then kind of mentally prepare and think through like, okay, this is kind of the way that things are going to be looking. How can we make sure that these inputs are being done on a normal basis? And that's what we're going to help crack the code with and set up with you, and going to help you continue to grow and scale from there. So boom, let's go. Right at an hour. Look at that. I appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions or thoughts, I got to run right now, but message me in y'all's Slack channel, or if you happen to be a guest here, post in Skool. See ya. Thank y'all.